A week ago, we were short track racing in the area truck series, but a week later, we're back super speedway racing. But not from Daytona nor Talladega. This is the reprofiled Atlanta Motor Speedway. Welcome back to SimTV. I'm Kyle Heyer, joined by Connor Horn tonight. Connor, welcome back to the area truck series. 120 laps around this racetrack, and we've been here a couple of times, and it's always put on a great show. Despite how we might feel about this reconfiguration in real life, it has been the source of quite a bit of entertainment, I should say, here in iRacing.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. You can say what you want about what you think about going from the old Atlanta to this Atlanta to going to a completely different style of racing, but like you said, there is no doubt about it. This place gets wild and it puts on shows. We saw it last season. We saw cars and trucks go flying into the air. We even saw that last night as well in a truck series last Monday night. There's no doubt about it. This place shows some action, and it doesn't get much more action-packed than a photo finish like we saw last night with Jake Nichols taking his second victory of the season. It's getting wild on track, and it's going to get wild in the playoff picture as we get 6 different winners coming in tonight. Yeah,
an interesting week upcoming as well, but James Scioli on the top of the board. 3 wins, the only multi-time race winner, and Sogak, Beckner, Hardin, Hearn, and Slaughter also locked in. Slaughter with the Martinsville win last week. But as for the cut line, David Weishart's below it, Garrett Grant's above it, but just by 1 point. And you could get big swings here in the points as we trudge towards our regular season finale at Talladega, and we go road racing next week as well. So that could definitely mix things up, Connor.
Oh, it's definitely going to mix things up. Having 2 super speedway type races in this closing stretch of the regular season, it's going to get wild. I believe David Weishart, won this race last season as well. Like you're talking about, this is one of those tracks where you can have big swings and it can really make or break your playoff run. Only 1 point between those two. It's pretty key to never have anything go wrong as we jump into practice here with 3.5 minutes to go. You cannot have any mistakes as we see one big pack, which is, funny enough, that's led by David Weishart right now.
Yeah, and we're going to see pack racing tonight as we did last night. And the first 20 or 30 laps of that race were pretty much stuck single or double file, I should say, and drivers were complaining about not being able to go anywhere. But by the end of the race, we had drivers that had come all the way from the back all the way to the front. And of course, it ended with some late race drama, a yellow flag, a green-white checkered as always. But we did make it to the end under green, and perhaps a surprise winner last night, despite it not being surprising in the grand scheme of things. It was Jake Nichols who came from absolutely nowhere with a smart way to race. Ran to the back all night long and trudged his way forward at the end. Is that the strategy to win here tonight?
I think it's a strategy I usually try to get going. I was behind the 73 for the first half of that race. Didn't work out for me on pit entry, but obviously he was able to play strategy right. And one thing that was surprising that we saw last night that we might see tonight, as that pack goes up in smoke, we see the tires not really mattering. We saw Jake Nichols was one of those drivers who stayed out after a decently long green flag run, and ended up being where those older tires fired off better than sticker tires. Cosman Inishiwu said it last night. His sticker tires, when he pit for 4 tires, they didn't fire off well. They did not grip up like Jake Nichols, Douglas Newbings did. So that's something that we could see tonight, but once again, it's a completely different vehicle we got tonight.
Well, absolutely a consideration. We're going slower just by a bit than we were last night, and you see David Weishart on the brakes there out of turn 4. That is a topic of discussion. The pit entry commitment was a big deal last night. We had a lot of scrambling as drivers tried to peel off of the banking. Now, NASCAR has rectified this in the real world with the pit entry commitment on the entrance to turn 3 on the apron. But here in iRacing, we still have the full speed entry, which means drivers were slowing down on the banking, Connor, not a recipe for success.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that rule, so thank you for reminding me of that. As a fan, I think it's kind of stupid, but as a driver, I can admit, yeah, it's probably needed. That was not a lot of fun having to get caught up in someone else's mess last night, and that was in a small pack, and we saw when the entire pack came in a lap before, they had issues as well. I think 3 or 4 drivers ended up getting penalties, so it's definitely going to be a topic of discussion if we get there tonight. We're probably going to have a little bit of a shorter run, 20 laps shorter race, so we could see varying strategies tonight like we didn't see last night. There's a lot of things to look out for. You got to know who you're pitting with, and you got to make sure you're not pitting with a number of drivers. You do not want to pit with a big pack. We see it time and time again, but I think it's more important here than anywhere else.
I think you're right about that, and making sure that you don't get yourself caught up on pit entry or get yourself a penalty, because it'll be hard to overcome that late in the race. if you don't get a lot of yellows. Now, we could see this race go pretty green, Connor, especially if it gets spread out just a touch. We went green a long ways last night until we got a quick spurt of yellows right at the end. So the opportunity to run long under the green flag definitely exists tonight, and with that comes some strategy. I think tire wear will be even less important tonight than it was last. So but you're just not putting as much load as with the slightly slower speeds in these trucks and a little extra downforce to boot. So all that aside, practice is complete here, Connor. So up next is qualifying, which as far as Daytona and Talladega are concerned, we say it typically doesn't matter all that much. What's your feelings on it here at Atlanta?
I think it matters more here, but I'm pretty sure we saw a lot of drivers figure out where it might not be needed. But saying that, we did have a lot of drivers, they stayed out longer. They stayed at the back and were able to save more fuel and go longer and ended up getting closer to the front by the end. But evidently it came down to how many yellows you had. If you have a fully green flag race to the end there, Jake Nichols isn't winning that race. Douglas Newman most likely is not winning that race. It was Michael Sturgill at the front where he got caught up in a late race incident. So what you do, whether you run at the front, run at the very back, it's going to depend on where the yellows fall. It's also going to depend on if you can avoid all those yellows and avoid all the chaos as we're going to roll over to qualifying here, and we'll see if that's the case. We'll see how many drivers don't want to qualify. It's usually my strategy, not qualifying, and usually it works out for a decent finish. That wasn't the case last night, but I think we're going to see a lot of people qualify, especially in the truck series. I think even with this new damage model, it is so much harder to move up in a truck than it is in a cup car. So I think it's going to be more important tonight than any other night, even Xfinity.
Here's Justin Munsell working up to speed here at the exit of turn number 2. We've got some onboards tonight. We'll share them with you. Munsell is one of them. We also have Michael Curhan, JT Poole, Ricky Harden, Alan Elwood, and Eric Wineland. So a handful of drivers. Oh, there's a couple more even. David Weishart to mention. So it should be fun to watch. Here comes Justin Munsell. Just one lap is all you get, so you've got to make it count. And we're not going to see that high-low strategy that we've seen in the past, Connor, because you need to go the shortest way around, which is right against that red line.
Yeah, the red and white line. Try not to get too much of it. Gets a little bit more bumpy down there, so will hurt your run if you hit it the wrong way. Munsell choosing to only maybe come up half a groove, which is that's fine. Just sticking down there, making sure he makes the next turn, which is hard to miss that turn, obviously, but he gets down there well. Not too far off the line, which is line we like to see. And then we'll see right here how much are you willing to cut. He's going to cut pretty much all of it, even through the Geico restart zone. He puts up a time of 32.526. Good enough for pole out of the 2 drivers we've had go.
JT Poole had a shot at a win last night. Wasn't quite in the right place at the right time, as he's got Ricky Bobby behind him once again.
It's a really backseat gamer, isn't he?
He really is. He's the funny thing is he's changed up his camera angle a handful of times. It's never the same thing week to week. Justin Anasogak goes to the top of the board. JT Poole, the 32.484. That's good enough for second quick, as Michael Curhan now gets up to speed.
And Harrison goes 8th as Curhan comes up to speed. He was another driver who had issues on pit road where he was one who called his pit in and then got ran over by Ryan Hart. And he was one of the ones who was smart enough to go past pit road instead of trying to make it at all. It was one of the other issues with having no pit in the turn 3 is he's going to cut it down immediately to start his lap. That's a different strategy.
Yep, and again, I just don't think you're carrying all that much speed, so you can get pretty aggressive with hugging that inside line. Is working his way through turn 1 and 2, lets the car drift up naturally, doesn't pinch off the exit. That's always critical at these big tracks. And then a very shallow entry into turn 3. It's either going to be pretty good or not good, Connor. I don't think it's going to be landing right in the middle, but let's see.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how cutting the second dogleg to start your lap works, as 32.490 works out pretty well. Puts him 3rd on the board.
Yeah, not a bad run at all. Brad Slaughter Jr. is working up to speed as well. Actually, I think he's just starting his lap. Winner from last week, so he's locked into the playoffs, and that allows you so much more leeway in the aggression you can have in your strategies on track and off. And with Brad locking it down at Martinsville, led 51 laps last week. And we'll see if he can pick up where he left off.
I always compare these types of things to when Kyle Larson won at Dover. The first thing he really said when he got out of the car was, "I don't have to worry about Talladega, hallelujah." I'm sure that's what Brad Slaughter Jr. is thinking right now. He's in, he has nothing to worry about for the rest of the regular season. He doesn't have to worry too much about Atlanta, but he wants to win this one and get some more bonus points, and that is how you try to go for that. A 32.437 puts him provisional pole.
Logan Hartman, 32.632, puts him 12th quick. Mason Kane, in the middle of his lap and his number 31 Toyota Tundra.
Nice paint scheme. Spider-Man movie just came out. It reminds me of Spider-Man for some reason. I guess the red's as close as I can relate it to is he's going to cut the dog leg himself. We're obviously going to see everyone do this in qualifying. We won't see it in the race like that. A 13.478 puts him third.
That's a good lap. Bronson Stafford up to speed, so is Gary Waterworth. Love the area.iRacing .shop livery on this car. Great colors. Gary Waterworth goes fifth, quick on his lap out of view. David Weishart is on his as well. So while Stafford works his way, David Weishart comes across the line. And 32.494, that's good enough only now for seventh. And he's only 57 thousandths off of Brad Slaughter, but it puts him down in row 4 for now.
Bronson Stafford went 10th at 52.530, so about a 10th separating the top 10. Actually, exactly a 10th separating the top 11, with Bobby Tinch exactly a 10th behind. Philip, I see who else is on the lap. Travis Beckner is just ending his lap. He looked pretty sporty through 3 and 4. Very smooth line. He comes across the line at 32.457.
Second place. Great lap.
Nope, third place, because I don't know what took it from him.
Sure did. By 5 thousandths of a second. Bryce Senesac. Jacob Bell just pipped 11th place. Here comes Senesac out of turn 4 in the 09. And across the stripe for the 09, 32.551. They'll drop him down in 16th. And Shane Therian out of turn 4. Lovely Simrat Market colors on this truck. And the Silverado, the number 83, across the line. And a 32.523, 12th place.
Solid lap there. The point where it's probably going to be hard to improve. There's obviously not much you can do qualifying at a super speedway type track like this. AJ Roderick on track. Paul Irvin coming down the back straightaway. He ran as close to the outside wall as he could through 3 and 4, coming to his outlap, as obviously everyone has, but he flirted with it. That's why he's swerving Irvin as he's come through 3 and 4 to try to get into the top 3.
And Paul Irvin across the line. What will it be for the number 3? 32.539. That is only going to be 17th quick. A.J. Roderick now works his way out of 4.
Roderick ending his lap. Weiland is starting his lap. As Roderick a 32.494, that'll put him briefly into the top 10 himself. As Weiland in I think the same throwback he ran at Darlington, if I'm not mistaken. Still looks good. Who can I judge for still running a paint scheme that still looks that good as he comes down the back straight away?
Yeah, fits the truck body very nicely, those angular lines. Into turn 3, right on that red line. You see him bobble just a bit. Second place last week at Martinsville. Strong run, and we'll see if he can start where he finished last week. It is a 32.494, which is going to tie him with Weishart. Exactly, but they'll give it to Wineland for 9th.
Look at all 3 of those guys down there. Wineland, Weishart, and trying to see who's 11th right now, AJ Roderick. Look, they all ran the same exact lap. Wineland and Weishart definitely did. He gets the imaginary tiebreaker, I guess we'll say.
Here's Ryan Swan in the number 1 truck, and he should be one of our last qualifiers unless the others jump on the racetrack here shortly. Dustin Scruggs, Hardin, Bourne, Olson, Coop, and Josh Taylor still have yet to go.
We got some time to get out there. You could probably go out there with a minute 10 and get a lap in, but we'll see if anyone elects to. Like we said, not be surprised to see about 8 drivers start from the rear. Swan won't be one of them. He'll get a lap in, a 32.482. Another fast lap puts him 6th on the board.
That was a strong lap indeed. So no more takers for the time being as we now will wait the conclusion of qualifying. Will anybody else go in the closing moments? He will roll to a stop.
Missed the cone, though. That's good.
Yes. So while we are waiting to see if anybody else will go, race fans, be sure to subscribe to the Area iRacing Twitch channel. For only $5 a month, you can watch all Area broadcasts commercial-free. You can also use new Area iRacing emotes in the chat, and you'll earn double channel points as a subscriber that you can use to redeem for free merchandise at twitch.tv/Area iRacing. That's where you'll head for that. Ricky Hardin is headed for the racetrack to get a late qualifying effort in.
This is pretty much as late as you can go, as he will definitely be our last qualifier, Dustin Scruggs. Trying to see if he started a lap and just stopped. He did not. You'll just won't get a lap in. But yep, 15 will get on track just at the very end here.
So Hardin works his way through 3 and 4 on the high line here. Gets set up for his flying lap. He's going to have 1 minute to do it. He'll only need 33 seconds to get it done. And right down on the apron, just like we saw earlier in the session with Michael Curhan.
He was in the first dogleg high, and he decided to try to get the cut down right at the exact moment so he could just get that tiny bit of advantage. Every thousandth of a second matters in qualifying at super speedway tracks like this, and definitely going to be important at a track so track position based like Atlanta. As you can see him kind of weeble wobbling out of 4, trying to keep a steady line. We'll see where it puts him. And
across the stripe for Ricky Hardin over the bumps, 32.458, good enough to tie him for 3rd. And it will bump ahead of Travis Beckner.
Gosh, the ties that we have, it's not even just like Atlanta, Daytona, Talladega. It happens everywhere. It is wild, and he will definitely be our last competitor. We'll have about 5 drivers not qualifying. Tom Bourne, Josh Taylor, Dustin Scruggs, Ryan Olson, and Carter Koop.
20 drivers within a 1/10 of a second. That is pretty wild. And then 28 within 2/10. And Braden Goddard, the only qualifier not within that margin. A few that didn't qualify. We've got a couple minutes here of warm-up time for the drivers and teams before we turn them loose for 120 laps around here at Atlanta. We'll go over our starting lineup here in just a moment. Race fans, start your engines with a fresh cup of Roasted Gems coffee. Choose from some of the finest coffee beans from Colombia and Peru, or try the blended flavors of French vanilla and hazelnut. Use discount code AREA iRacing for 10% off your order at checkout at roastedgems.com. So, busy week for me, Connor. Just got back from Virginia International Raceway with the SRO Motorsports Group calling GR Cup and some PA for Fanatec G2 World Challenge America powered by AWS. I'm off to Pikes Peak this weekend. On Friday, headed out to Colorado Springs to call the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb, which I'm really excited about. I've never been to that event, although I have been to the top of the mountain. Exciting week and busy week for sure, but a bunch of area in between.
Excuse me, admins were talking. They mixed me up.
I want to know what they were saying, Connor.
I don't know. They're talking about the red line rule. We can't go under it. That's one thing that's going to be hard to enforce tonight, though. Yeah. We talked about it last night. I think Kazuya Nishiu again. He was the one who initially asked, how much can you cut of those dog legs? Because that's an important part of the track. Those dog legs, they're very sharp turns, but you can't really go around them because you're probably going to wreck someone on your outside. You can't cut those at all. So that's going to be a slippery line to avoid, trying not to cut those dog legs, but also not get popped with a penalty and also not wreck someone. I think if they just painted it like a normal tri-oval, it would be fine. But that is not what the creators of New Atlanta wanted.
Now, I think one of the interesting parts about that as a driver is, okay, fine, penalize me. What line is going to be the line that you're going to go? Is it 2 tires? Is it 4 tires? Going to put the tires on the line, over the line, just to the left of the line, just to the right of the line? If I'm a driver, I'm going to get real creative and try to find every advantage I can, and that's one of those places where you certainly can. Big starting lineup, though. Let's get through a Roasted Gems Coffee starting lineup here in just a moment's time. Connor, let's kick things off. Row number 1, it's going to be Brad Slaughter Jr. and his number 8 Chevrolet Silverado coming off a win at Martinsville last week. He picks up where he left off alongside Alan Elwood in the number 10.
Then row number 2, 2 more fast drivers. Ricky Hardin in the 15, the last put a time down, only 1,000th of a second over Travis Beckner in the 28, starting 4th.
In row 3, it's Justin Anisogak in the number 88. Mason Kane in his number 31 Toyota Tundra roll off 6th.
The one machine of Ryan Swan not loaded in yet, but he will still start 7th alongside him. The driver who almost won last night, but came out sliding across the finish line. JT Poole starting 8th.
And in 9th place, Gary Waterworth in the number 12. Michael Curhan rolls off 10th in the number 24 truck.
Our guy Eric Wineland in that 21 Ford, starting 11th place alongside him, David Weishart, who did not have much luck last night at the very end.
In 13th place, it's A.J. Roderick in the 56. Dylan Lee starts 14th in the 25.
Jake Bell, another one who got caught up in late race drama last night, Monday night. He starts 15th alongside him, to 49 of Danny Ware.
And in row number 9, it's Shane Ferried in the 83 and Justin Munsell in the number 6.
Row number 10, the Toyota Tundra, Philip York in the 97. Alongside him will be the area.iracing.shop Tundra, I believe, of Bronson Stafford.
Behind them, Bobby Tinch starts 21st in the number 54. Paul Irvin, 22nd in the number 3.
Bryce Senesac starting in the 23rd position. Alongside him, Aiden Roberson, and I believe what is a new No Kid Hungry, paint scheme in 24th.
Looks like it, and behind them, 25th, it's Garrett Grant, the number 42. Dawson Miller starts 26th in the 11.
Blaine Harrison looking for some luck tonight. He starts 27th. Alongside him, the 96 of Logan Hartman.
And Braden Goddard rolls off 29th in the number 38. And 30th place is Dustin Scruggs in the 22 truck.
31st place is Tom Bourne, second in the points only to James Scarley, who notably is not here tonight. So Bourne has a chance to take that position back. So Bourne 31st, Josh Taylor 32nd.
And final row, it's Carter Coop and Ryan Olson that will finish out the field here for the Area Truck Series. As here's a question for you, Connor. As with all yellow or double yellow or red line rules, what happens if you are forced below that red line?
I assume you don't get penalized, but we'll just have to wait and see. We didn't really, surprisingly for how chaotic cup races can be at these tracks, we never really saw that come into play because a lot of the early part of the race was 2x2 as see drivers pulling off. I don't know what that was back there, but we haven't really seen that yet. We didn't even see it last year, really saw no penalties for going below or getting forced below. We definitely saw a lot of chaos though, and if we talk about drivers getting creative all the time with the rules, the way they were told about the dog legs especially. If we do see drivers get creative, we definitely will see drama, we'll definitely see action, and we might see people flying through the sky like we saw Tommy Ryan last season.
Well, we hope we keep them on the ground as much as we can, but the field works their way through turns 3 and 4. If this race goes green from flag to flag, it's about 1 hour and 4 minutes of competition. It's just after 9 o'clock on the East Coast. Thanks for joining us here tonight for the Area Truck Series Round 9 of the season. Brad Slaughter Jr., fresh off a win at Martinsville, the smallest track on the schedule, heads to one of the fastest, Atlanta Motor Speedway. He brings us to the green. Green flag flies. We're racing in Georgia. Trouble already at the back of the field. I think that's Ryan Olson that had a very slow start and a puff of smoke out the tailpipe.
Yeah, had big checkup there, trying to see who might have damage from that. Rear bumper for Logan Hartman maybe looks a little dinged up. I'm sure that really on the outside line, we saw some drivers stacked up, but everyone seems to still be running at least.
Already the back singling out here, but the front dozen or so still scrapping side by side. On the outside lane, it's Alan Elwood getting a shove from Travis Beckner in that 28. That's the Calusa Pines Toyota Tundra that's in behind as they cross the line to finish the first of 120 laps.
Brad Slaughter Jr. can't hold on. We saw it last night where the bottom line was really, on fresh tires, bottom line is where you want to be. But as the run goes on, if the tires wear, the middle line to high line really starts to become a factor and really starts to kind of pull away from everyone on the bottom. As we're seeing right now, that top line already sort of fighting back with ease, but that bottom line still fighting hard as well as Slaughter finally gets to push it from Ricky Harden. Look out, almost 3 wide.
Ricky Harden is one of the drivers up here in the top 5. Started 3rd, is running 5th now as he drops back a couple spots on the bottom here. Entering turn number 1, 180 miles an hour for this lead group as they're still running double file, and again, the whole back half of the field is singled out. They just want to click off some laps while the front drivers are vying to get some clean air and some moves made here early.
Some potential bonus points. Don't forget about that as Elwood got his own there. A few of them already as Beckner's going to be next to try to challenge for those. He's got the push from Mason Kane. Almost a tandem up there with JT Poole hanging back. There's a big push. Almost goes wrong there. Very early to be bump drafting, but it's the name of the game in these trucks.
Still dead heat for the top spot there between Elwood and now Travis Beckner as Beckner gets a shove from Mason Kane. Pushes him almost clear of the 10. Not quite there. JT Poole on the high line, same with Michael Curhan.
Dead even. You can see the pinching's already pretty extreme. Beckner all over the door of Alan Elwood, and you got to be careful doing that because the driver behind might not be as low as Elwood, and then if Mason Kane doesn't figure that out, it could get deadly. So got to be careful about the pinching, especially early on.
28 now clear, drops ahead of Alan Elwood. Mason Kane has clear air in front of his nose, and a big shove from JT Poole in the 26. JT was a factor in the win last night, just couldn't quite get there in time at the end.
It was funny enough, he tried to make a move to the middle and hit Jake Nichols' right rear, which at the very end of it all really gave the 73 the jolt he needed to take the win away from Douglas Newbigging in the final moments. So give credit to 26 with an assist last night, trying to do a few better tonight.
Looking pretty calm right now as they head down the back straightaway. Gives Mason Kane a pretty big shove.
Can't show fear around Ricky Bobby.
He can smell fear. 6 laps complete and still dead heat here, Connor. This is kind of frustrating, right? When you get stuck in these, especially and you're on the bottom, you're boxed in, and all you want is just to relax and not have to worry about washing up, but it's tight right now.
It's probably why I go single file on my own. Not that it isn't frustrating. That could be frustrating at times too. But yeah, being gridlocked like this kind of sucks, especially when you're the pusher on the outside lane and you just can't get that guy to the front like the others had earlier. It's like, am I the problem? Is the guy I'm pushing the problem? Am I not getting enough help from the third and fourth guys in behind? You get frustrated after a while and you can't let that get to you. You can't get impatient this early on.
Off into turn 1, the whole field stacks up into the corner. There's one driver way off pace, and it's Ryan Olsen with that issue on the start that we noted. He's fallen way off the pace, and he's going to be in big trouble if that's all he can do. Still double wide. Now the entire field 2x2.
Yeah, that was really all because of that checkup on the initial start. He had to slam the brakes to avoid. Unfortunately, he was the odd man out and lost a draft. So we got a yellow, he'll be fine. Just got unlucky there as a big wiggle through a dogleg for Beckner. It's going to give Mason Kane a lap lead finally.
And can he maybe go to the lead and drop down ahead of Travis Beckner? Not quite clear, so he won't have the opportunity to drop the nose in front of the 28 machine as they storm down the back straightaway, completing 9 laps. That was a big dive, and Beckner, I think, had to lift there to facilitate that. You see him loose now.
I'm sure JT Poole kind of forced him down. It's like, okay, I'm overheating now. This can't go on forever. So at some point, you just got to force that guy to the lead because you can't hold on that long. The engine will not like it if you push 290 plus. So JT Poole, much needed clean air now on the top lane. Now he's pushed by Michael Curhan.
A lot of drivers that started up top filtering to the bottom. Brad Slaughter Jr., the pole sitter, has fallen to 7th but has stopped the fall in behind the 25 of Dylan Lee. We haven't really talked about him a ton this season as Travis Beckner had a look to the inside of Mason Kane. Door was closing very quickly and thought better of it as JT Poole powers to the lead.
Yeah, that was a case of, I think Mason Kane got sidetracked a little bit, and when someone pulls on your right rear, it gets you tight out of the corner. And Kane went up the track, and Beckner was trying to stay with him, but he ended up having to hold to the bottom. But if you go 3 wide into a dogleg, it creates a big crash. We've seen that last season and even last night. So smart by Beckner to just back out there. That was the right move.
Now, how much will these trucks start to walk on you late in the session or late in the tire run, I should say, Connor? Are they going to be pretty planted, or are we going to expect drivers to maybe lose a bit of pointiness in their cars towards the end of this run?
I think the fronts are going to still work just fine. It's all about the rear, especially when you have someone pushing you like JT Poole has Mason Kane all over him. They're kind of pulling away, a little tandeming at Atlanta. But as these tires wear, if you have someone pushing you into a corner and through the center of a corner, that's where you're going to be at your most vulnerable on old tires, where the rear end of the truck is going to step out and you might get sideways in front of the whole field. So you got to really be careful about the pushing you're doing to someone once these tires start to wear out a little bit. As got to be careful about bumping in the corners too if you're Michael Curhan.
Yeah,
on the wall.
Yeah, that's the 25 of Dylan Lee, and he was already 3 wide through the middle of the corner, and just that truck going backwards now. Just got uncomfortably kind of shuffled out of line and managed to recover it, Connor, but tense moments there for everybody.
I think we saw that at Daytona, if I remember correctly, in the season opener, but much better ending this time as the battle for the lead. Obviously, it's going to be ongoing until we get to green flag pit stops, as you see how loose these drivers already are. I think that's between David Weishart already kind of bobbing and weaving. It's kind of hard to not bob and weave when you're in a line like this because you're trying to follow the back of someone. If they're weaving, you're weaving, and everyone else is weaving, it's almost impossible to hold a straight line.
Elwood and Poole dead heat for the top spot still as we head out of turn 4. Licking off laps just like we did last night. So far this race looking and feeling fairly similar.
It's almost looking similar, it just looks maybe a tiny bit slower. The race pace right now, Elwood last time by a 31.1. Meanwhile, the Cup cars for the entirety of that long run we had at the very beginning are running 30.3s, 30.4s, so maybe about 0.8 of a second off right now. And the fall off is already about 0.3 of a second per lap, so we have to watch out for that. Another Simrat market truck in the wall. That is AJ Roderick, but he's all good. He gets it back, stays on the top.
Yeah, got himself out of line and got shuffled. And when that happens, you have to bail out. And he did a great job doing that without getting caught up in a mess after. Alan Elwood in the lead with help now from Brad Slaughter Jr., the pole sitter of this race, as they very quickly bear down on Ryan Olson, who is that driver that had issues on the start.
As he will get lapped here. Fortunate for him right now, he just has to let the pack by, and he will be the only driver a lap down. He's the only driver in danger of going a lap down. Every one of the other 33 trucks so far still in the draft, all the way back to Josh Taylor, who's riding the most in 33rd, as the entire field will let Ryan Olson go to the top as he's in the wall. As long as he can keep it straight, he'll be able to stay in this pack still.
Yeah, just
look out.
Did his best to stay out of the way, and you're focusing in your mirror, and sometimes when you're doing that, you just miss what's out the windshield and a slight understeer up into the outside wall. We've seen the grip level drop away pretty significantly up at that upper groove, Connor. If you get all the way up to that outside wall, it seems hard to kind of stick near it. It's either you're off it or you're in it.
Yeah, there's really no third lane out of turn two, and we saw it contribute to one of the wrecks last night as we got a truck hard in the wall out of turn two. Couldn't see who that was, but Braden Goddard, I think, who's slow. I'm not sure if he was the one who I initially saw break loose, but looked like he slapped the wall pretty good.
Yeah, and slowing down here. Let's see if we can get a look at it. As
he's gonna pit.
Oh,
that was ahead of him.
And he did get into the wall very hard, and the contact with the 16. It was, what truck is that? That green truck.
Oh, I was going to mention that under a yellow. Yes, I believe that was Dawson Miller who broke loose and kind of checked all that up. He's running a Scott Bloomquist throwback right now. We can
has no
talk
numbers.
About that later.
Oh,
yeah, look out, Dawson. Logan Hartman, excuse me, is loose. They're gonna hit, and Hartman's in the wall.
Dawson Miller around on the front straightaway, spins, and
no yellow
yet, but I expect we'll get one.
No one behind him, so it's not going to trigger the yellow. Wow. That was weird. Talking about that scheme, and that is that was a weird accident. But Dawson Miller might be the first retirement as we stay green.
Is that livery what you're seeing on your screen too?
Yes.
No numbers on that truck, huh?
No, it's not. It's Scott Bloomquist, like the great dirt racer. He's diagnosed with cancer, I believe. So that was his throwback. But I was going to ask you about that under yellow because it was kind of an odd one, but. Unfortunately, it's already dinged up. Really odd incident into turn three.
Yeah, no numbers makes it hard to pick out, that's for sure. Down the back straightaway, field will head, and it's, again, double file for the first 20 or so trucks, and then it's single out after that. JT Poole has gotten the advantage. Now, with that bit of a mix-up a lap or two ago, I don't want to say it's calm, but it's a bit less chaotic than it was, and just as I say that, they're kind of reconvening now.
One thing I've been seeing really since lap 5, really lap 8, is that bottom line is not as formed up. A lot of drivers making sure to be in that middle to top line and being pretty packed up while doing it. As you can see that bottom line from this kind of drone shot where it's really less formed up. You have 4 drivers on the bottom pretty packed up. It's pretty sparse after Justin Sogok in the 88.
You see Mason Kane's truck there really sideways on the entrance to turn 3. Have a look at this and see if you see what I saw here. Watch that truck just kind of wash up the hill, and just you see the hands in the cockpit there. Catch it once, and you see him working it right there again. Also, just struggling just a touch with the handling.
And part of that's being in the dirty air and having someone behind you. It's going to disrupt how your truck handles. So you have to be ready for that. Mason Kane looks like he's dealing with the worst of it. You can see it's still stepping out. It did it again there. As I would not be surprised if Travis Beckner sees that and tries to get people on board with kind of getting this 31 out of line.
Yeah, and it's on entry to the corner. When the banking falls away, it kind of unloads the back of the truck you're turning in. It wants to step out. Once you get stabilized in the corner, it's not a huge deal, but it's the initial turn in, and unfortunately, that's also when you're going basically the fastest. So it can be a tense moment for the driver.
Yeah, he's definitely as tense as he'll be, as you can kind of see Brad Slaughter Jr. kind of walking it up and down the track a little bit. Much better 3 and 4 from Kane that time, but he also nailed the left rear of JT Poole. That is not where you want to bump draft someone.
Off into turn 1, JT Poole leads the way. And so far, so good for the number 26. He has led 9 of the 25 laps so far and has everybody in the rearview mirror right now. And we continue to click away laps at a pretty good clip. The question now becomes, pit stops, we're still a ways away from those, Connor, but getting yourself positioned, I'd wager about halfway through the fuel run, maybe lap 50 or so.
Yeah, I would not be surprised to see, just like last night, a lot of drivers try to stretch it as far as they can. I think that would be the ideal thing to do, as long as you got people with you, because you probably pit with less people, and you also have more fuel to the end in case you get a green-white checkered like we had last night. So it didn't seem like fuel became an issue at the end because of green-white checkered, but you never know, as the 8 has another big wiggle on the top. It seems like he's struggling the same way, but I don't think we'll see people pit lap 50. We saw the leader, David Weishart, last night do that, but I think we have a completely different fuel strategy on our hands tonight.
I'm just interested that the pack is so much tighter than it was last night. We're not seeing it kind of stretch. And I think that's just a factor of these trucks being a bit slower and a bit draggier to boot. They're just, it's a pretty tight and condensed pack, and that means it's going to stay like this and probably not spread out, which heightens that risk for a yellow when you got trucks like Mason Kane's walking all over the place without a lot of air on the nose.
Yeah, it's going to be Mason Kane and everyone else who's kind of wiggle around. It's going to make everyone's decision on whether to take 2 tires or 4 tires. I think 4 tires is still definitely a move. We'd still have about 0.6 of a second, really. JT Poole is about 0.7 of a second off his fastest time, so the fall off is there, and if you don't take tires, you're definitely going to be feeling it, especially if you don't get out with clean air. If you're in the middle of the pack on old tires, it's not going to be fun if it comes down to that.
It's not going to be fun, that's for sure. Moving our way towards the 1/4 mark of this race in about 2 laps time. That's how quick things are moving along here at Atlanta so far. We've had one big incident. It was Dawson.
Ooh, we got a spin.
Whoa,
did they save it?
Not quite.
Aiden Roberson. He did save it. Wow, that could have been much bigger.
Wow. Well, I was just about to say we'd only had one incident so far. We were kind of due for another. And here's
that
what
1.5. Oh, man, Mason Kane just got dumped, but Aiden Roberson almost did himself. He did a great job saving that. As we'll go back live here. Mason Kane's been stuffed in the middle, as I expected to happen. Beckner finally got sick of it.
So things are popping off here at lap 30, and Elwood now went middle for a second, almost got split 3 wide. Brad Slaughter Jr. stays behind him, the 29 of Weishart as well. Ricky Harden, and then on the bottom, it's the 26 of JT Poole, 28 of Travis Beckner, and the 24 of Michael Curhan.
When I look back at it, it wasn't Mason Kane just straight up getting in the sucker hole. He got extremely sideways. He had tire smoke coming out as they barely get by the 38. That was wild. That was Braden Goddard they got by, who's a few laps down. But yeah, 31's really struggling with the handling. But I think going to the middle is the best thing for him. But he did get back to the bottom on his own.
Still a dead heat up front. No line has been able to push forward or clear for more longer than a lap or two. And that was the case last night as well. No prevailing best line, which left a lot of options open late in the race to make a pass, Connor, but in the middle of the race, no one can get comfortable because there's no place to be. You can just drive right around somebody using a different lane.
Yeah, we'll see if that's the case tonight, but right now it is pretty much gridlock. You wonder if you get a very formed up bottom lane, if they can pull away from the top lane, but it seems like there's just more drivers willing to be in that middle of the top lane than on the bottom, and it's really, I think, still Mason Kane who's kind of hindering a lot of those guys. It's also been Justin Sogak, who's really never gotten to the very back bumper of whoever he's ahead of, so those two down there might not be helping Poole's case, Poole, Beckner, and Curhan's case right now.
JT back out in front. Philip York was one of those that kind of dodged that accident a couple of minutes ago. 19th, now up to 15th place. It's been as far down as 23rd. I like where Philip York is, if I'm being honest, Connor. We're kind of right at the bleeding edge of that second pack and right at the tail of the lead one, so you've got room to maneuver, and you've also got some track position.
I always liked the position I'd like to be in the most is like right behind the main pack, but also ahead of enough people to where I'm not in trouble of losing anyone. My goodness. Oh, and a Sogak to the bottom. He's going to pull out here. He might lose a draft with how slow he was.
Oh.
He's got internet issues, I think.
Yep. And we're hearing that even for Travis Beckner, thunderstorm in the area. So that could impact this race should that weather system worsen. I can't wait till we get rain and iRacing and then we have satellite graphics and things to show. That'd be cool.
So if you're having thunderstorms in real life, and then if you got dynamic weather, it's going to be thunderstorm at the track.
Ooh, Beckner.
Who's about to be a
that truck
storm on
walk
track.
on him just a touch.
Not really something I ever got to deal with last night, so unfortunately I don't have experience, but it just seems like the rear ends of these trucks are seemingly way more unstable on a long run than the Cup cars, which is not really what I expected, as ooh, he's really sliding in 1 and 2 this time, and once again, that's kind of a product of having Kurhan all over him.
Yeah, I don't know how much of it's tire and how much of it's just aero on these trucks. I don't know what kind of rake the truck is running, how high off the ground the rear end is, and how much it's sticking in the air. As Dylan Lee's up in the wall again. He's been there once before tonight. Whoa, 28 out of turn 4, dives for the apron.
I think he's also going to try to get out of the way a little bit here. He won't drop nearly as far back. It's going to put Mason Kane, who's been squirrely in the middle with Gary Waterworth on his bumper, and he's sliding a little bit. Got to be careful of that as they're going to stay 3 wide, but they keep it okay for now. Always cringe when you see 3 wide here, especially.
Yeah, it's tough. Oh, the one of Ryan Swan. It seems like when you get to that way upper groove, Connor, there's just no grip up there. You can't rim ride this place like you can other super speedway tracks or even other 1.5 mile tracks. You used to be able to do that here, but it seems like as soon as you touch that upper pavement, into the wall you go.
It's really a slippery slope, too, because you don't want to be in the middle. You don't want to be in that hole because, oh, we got a car slam the wall in turn 1 and 2. Ryan Olson's destroyed.
Oh,
75
man.
truck.
That thing is absolutely destroyed.
He was at the very back of the line after getting lapped. He was the only driver 1 lap down.
It was ahead of Braden Goddard in the 38.
Still nothing up front. Ellen Elwood's pulled away with a little bit of a lead.
Here's a replay of it. Just turns off in and just walks up on him and then bam.
Oh, man. That's a wicked hit. Looked like he missed the very bottom and then trying to turn it down, cracks the wheel left, and it breaks the truck sideways, and you're not saving it at that point. So he was in lucky dog territory, and now it's pretty much race-ending territory.
Anything but lucky tonight for him. Lap number 40. Connor, the laps are clicking away, and this is an important lap because this marks the 1/3 mark of this race. If we were to split it into 3 equal segments, you'd pit this time, but I think we'll see drivers go for some more.
Yeah, stage 1 winner, Alan Elwood. Just kidding, we don't do stages, but yeah, definitely getting closer. I think everyone's starting to settle in as much as you can on these older tires, so everyone's kind of figuring out how long they can stretch this, as Elwood kind of chases everyone to that very high line. That Ricky Harden almost slams the wall there. Got to be careful here. It's the point when those tires are going to be probably feeling at their worst at this point in the run, which is a shame because I think all these drivers know they still got a ways to go for their fuel number.
Ricky Harden's on board. We can see the red tape on the steering wheel here. Let's see if it jumps back to the right at all. It seems like it's a much bigger problem on the bottom of the track than it is up high. It turns off in here, and he's got his steering fairly consistent, so his truck isn't walking very far. Brad Slaughter Jr., though, all over that. That's Weishart all over Slaughter up top.
Weishart, well, he wasn't really pushing anyone, but he's found his way to the rear bumper of the 8 as he has a little bit of a wiggle behind the 8 truck. He's up from 12th into his top 5 position. There's not many of those right now. He's the only driver in the top 10 right now actually to not start in the top 10. Everyone else has been here.
And Michael Kurhan on the bottom just ahead of them.
There goes JT Poole. He's going to pull out high. I was about to say the bottom lane's kind of gaining, but I think that was because Elwood and Poole were playing a few games there trying to see who get the lead. Now they'll both lead different lines. There's a big pinch there from Poole to Elwood.
And Brad Slaughter Jr. jumps to the bottom groove behind Kurhan. It opens up the door for Harden to close the gap.
And the top falls off a little bit. But you'll see, especially at a turn 4, they get such a big run as Elwood drops back to the bumper of Kurhan, but still just a little bit too far back to challenge that 10 truck for the lead at this moment.
The 3 trucks out so far as we hit lap 44. They are Dawson Miller, Logan Hartman, and Ryan Olson, all with crash damage, mostly self-inflicted for all of the above.
And only one driver laps down. It's Braden Goddard, who's now 3 down. Like JT Poole wanted to get to the bottom and thought better of it. As looking at 7th place Gary Waterworth, he's fought his way up to the front just a little bit. He's climbed up from 9th, so not too much of a climb, but still a climb nonetheless.
Moving forward is all you can ask. Alan Elwood tasting the lead again. He's been up here for 20 laps, almost half the race. He's had the advantage, and for JT Poole, 18. So fairly similar leads between these drivers. Curhan hasn't led any, neither has Harden. Brad Slaughter, as the pole sitter, hadn't even led a lap.
He hasn't had any laps, I think, where he's run 2nd. He dropped to 3rd after 1 lap, so that's kind of unfortunate for him, but it's just a product of how the initial starts go. When both lanes get an equal jump on the green flag, you're not going to get that jump you would as if he was the leader on a restart. I talk about it all the time. If it was a restart, he would have the lead and probably still be in one of these 2 lanes, but it's not the case on an initial restart, so he's still stuck just outside the top 5.
Trucks are washing up out of, in 3 and 4 in particular. They're not staying stuck to that red line. They're drifting up a little ways, and I wonder if that's just to help their handling of their trucks, just not keep it pinned to the bottom. Why do that when you've got the whole track width to use, I suppose, but it'll open up the opportunity for an attack if someone wants to sneak up the inside.
We got to be careful of that. If you're like Mason Kane, he got so sideways, Beckner had no choice to go to the bottom, but we haven't really seen anyone force someone up to take the spot away from him. Not quite yet. We get to the end of the race, I think we'll see people betray each other and do that, but a little too early. I think all these drivers know that it's too early to make those types of moves. As Alan Elwood made a pretty aggressive move there. It looked like he might have gotten blocked below the red and white line by Bryce Senesac.
Still battling for the top spot. Elwood led a whole bunch of laps this race. And as far as the championship is concerned, 3rd in the points. No wins yet, though, for Alan Elwood. I'm sure he'd like to end that drought tonight.
And he came in tonight 23 points behind Tom Bourne. Tom Bourne, who didn't qualify, he started at the back. He is up to 19th, but still a lot of points to be gained for Elwood. Not only if he can win, but if he can pull that off. I was looking at Tom Bourne, and Danny Ware and Blaine Harrison came together, and somehow, once again, I think they got away with it for now.
Here is a look at what just happened a moment ago with Danny Ware. Right there at the 66. They come on off into the corner. Contact with the 16. That's what sends the 49 for a bit of a ride, but he gathers it up. Great save, and will continue under green.
Meanwhile, shake-up at the front. JT Poole kind of lost all of his help. Everyone's jumping to the bottom, maybe potentially getting ready for the pit stop. It'd be pretty early. I would be surprised if this isn't a 1-stop. But everyone's getting to the bottom now, only leaving JT Poole and Ryan Swan at the top.
Yeah, can we go 10 more laps? So that feels like a long way to go on a tank of fuel, Connor. But if you can get close and maybe hope for a yellow in the second half of the race, but at that point you'd be taking tires. Again, just like last night, we are seeing tire wear 31.4 to a 30.7 for Alan Elwood, the leader, with his last lap versus his best laps. That's about 7/8 tenths of a fall off in the 50 laps that we've run so far. Not a ton, but notable.
It's definitely going to be a stretch. The tanks are a little bit smaller, but we saw, whether you're in the lead, we saw David Weissart, who was leading, could only go 65 laps, where Jake Nichols, we could get to about 74, 75 just by laying at the back. So we'll see if the drivers who have been at the back this entire run, like Bobby Tinch, Jacob Bell, Paul Irvin, all those guys, we'll see how much further they can go, see if it makes a difference between 1 and 2 stops. But I still have the feeling if you've gone to lap 52, you're definitely expecting a 1-stop anyways.
Yeah.
If you were committed to a 2-stop, you would have hit around lap 40.
Yeah, no one has hit pit lane yet, with only 8 more laps to go to meet that halfway point. Once we get to lap 60, you're definitely good to the end. We've been clean and green since mostly clean, since the drop of the green flag. And you can assume if you got this far, Connor, we're going to go pretty far into that second half of the race. Only when things start to amp up, like last night, can we expect to see a yellow flag.
We could definitely expect to see a yellow flag. It all depends on if it comes back up the track and we see trucks get sideways. When we had the incident, me, Ricky Springer, and I think someone else, we didn't get sideways. And obviously the wreck down the backstretch, no one really got sideways on the racing surface, so it didn't trigger a yellow. So there's definitely potential for it to happen tonight, which with a completely different handling truck. So we'll have to look out for that. Also, I have to admit, something I'm surprised about, I don't remember on that first run, I don't remember the entire field getting single file like we're seeing right now. The entire field has gotten single file, not something we're really used to, as Ricky Harden calls out pitting in, he's in 4th. So this really could be a 2-stop race because a lot of the leaders are going to come down this time.
Yeah, this is interesting. Pit stops were a challenging proposition last night. We had a lot of incidents as Ricky Harden gets slowed down, and he's going to bring a couple others with him, Alan Elwood included, and he missed it.
That is okay, though. It's still got a lot missing it. Oh, my goodness. That was Shane Theron in the grass to try to avoid it. But that is the best thing Ricky Harden could have done. But now the issues for the guys who made pit road: do not wreck on pit road. You got to be careful. Make sure you know where your stall is.
Got to be picture perfect. You lose so much track position so quickly here. Good on Harden to bail out. Don't wreck yourself trying to get down there. He's going to lose some track position, but not the end of the world. Now, will the next pack come? No, they're going to stay out again.
See if Hard comes down now. He won't, so I'm sure that was probably some sort of team strategy he was on, and he has no choice but to abandon it. Looking at who's coming off of pit road, got trucks inside of one another. Luckily they can do that, as JT Poole, Elwood's going to be the one leading him off, as somehow it seems like everyone got away with it. I don't see any speeding on that round, at least.
And don't get yourself a penalty leaving pit road either. You have to stay below that yellow line all the way around, or excuse me, red line all the way around. The leaders remain on track, now working lap 57. So now I have to suspect that maybe they can go 65 laps or so, and the last time around was the earliest they could make it to the end on fuel, Connor, if everyone else is so confident in going a few more laps.
I would not be surprised if that's the case, if you're trying to undercut and get track position instead of being secure on fuel. It's definitely kind of a tale of what strategy you want. Do you want to be safe on fuel and not maybe have to fight for track position, or get track position on stops, but maybe have to be careful of not having enough fuel? Look out, Waterworth missed it into the cone. Brad Slaughter Jr. taps him, but somehow that wasn't worse than what it looked like it was going to be.
Yeah, so Waterworth is going to get the short end of the stick in that exchange, and he will begin rolling once again. Travis Beckner and Philip York and more still out on the racetrack. There's about 10 drivers that have yet to come.
And Harrison's having a rough one. Looks like he and Brad Slaughter Jr. came together entering their stalls. A lot of right front damage on Brad Slaughter Jr.'s truck now, but like you said, we still have people to pit. Travis Beckner's going to come in on 58. York is not making that.
Not even close.
No, sir. Dustin Scruggs will come in, as he got back on track at one point. Slaughter comes off of pit road, not unscathed, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's go back and see if we can find what happened to Brad Slaughter Jr. Now, the damage was already done right here. Oh, it was coming into the box, it looks like.
Yeah, Harrison up ahead, and yeah. Slaughter's probably expecting him to be lower if he's coming into a stall for sure. As Garrett Grant, who was the leader, comes in. Oh, and here comes Josh Taylor. Oh. He's gonna do the same thing. Oh, and there's another one. That was Philip York again. He got into Carter Coupe. This is about what we expected. Yeah. This is as chaotic as it can get.
Well, again, it's just like Daytona and Talladega. I don't know how many drivers actually practice this because it's like, oh, of course you're going to make it, but it's a lot harder at race pace when you're really trying, and we're seeing that lack of practice become very evident here. Jacob Bell leads. He's one of 3 drivers that has yet to come to pit lane. He will come this time through. So will Eric Wineland, and so will Anna Sogak. So that will turn the lead back over to the field that has already made their pit stops, which will be Alan Elwood, and they're still single file, Connor.
By the way, the thing we were talking about, people going to 65, some going to 55, throw it out the door, because it really looks like that going 60 laps was a struggle for everyone. Only 3 drivers were able to even make it to 60, and I think 2 of them were sputtering on pit entry. So if we do not get a yellow, it is going to be a very interesting set of final rounds. All
right, well, 60 laps to go, make it 59. We are past halfway at Atlanta now, and Anna Sogak leads the way. Then it's JT Poole, Munsell, Swan, Lee, Stafford, Bourne, Roderick, Curhan, and Therian, the rest of your top 10. And it's only 11 trucks in the front group, and then a smattering kind of by themselves behind.
Yeah, we'll see when everyone gets formed back up, but it does look like Elwood's going to maintain lead. Elwood, Poole, Munsell, Swan, and Dylan Lee. A few different players up there. Elwood and Poole were up there, but Justin Munsell, he's worked his way up all the way, trying to see where he started. He started all the way back in 18th, so he's made his way through with strategy. And Dylan Lee as well. Saw him in the wall a few times, and he's gotten to the top 5 with strategy.
So laps clicking away, about 30 minutes of racing remaining if we stay green. We have had no yellow flags so far. A couple of small incidents with just mostly single car issues or contacts and continues. And now Alan Elwood clicking away laps out front. It's almost like when you get them at Talladega and run them on the high side, Connor, just you're getting closer to when they pay out the points.
Guarantee you, I've seen so many gentlemen's rules where everyone does run the top. I don't think you're going to see that at Atlanta. You can do that at Talladega Daytona. We've seen, you're probably not going to do that at Atlanta. So yeah, it is exactly like that right now. All the top 11 here. That's another 1.3 seconds to the second line, which is led by the damaged Brad Slaughter Jr. Last time by, they did gain. Smaller pack goes a little faster. They should get there. Weishart is in that as well. And then it's very spread out. Ricky Harden is with Bryce Senesac. Then Garrett Grant's leading a line. He was one of the late hitters himself. As this has really shaked things up.
Down the back straightaway, Elwood, Poole, Munsell still line astern. Deeper in the field, there is a bit more discombobulation as the field that came out in that other pack tries to get reformed. It's Irvin, Tinch, and Weiland in this group. They're half a lap behind the rest, so that's a long ways back to make up without a yellow flag, Connor.
Yeah, definitely half a lap behind is going to be tough to navigate, but definitely have to look at Jacob Bell, Justin Sogak. They were two of those guys two of the three that made it to lap 60. But like you said, half a lap behind and not in a big pack like we were earlier. Is it really going to be possible to save that amount of fuel? Looks like they had to save maybe 6 or 7 laps to even barely make it there. So that might be impossible for them to do, but one pit stop is definitely going to, making only one pit stop is still going to gain you a lot of time. So it's definitely something they might try if we go green here. As another thing we're going to have to navigate because of all these pit stop blunders, lap traffic, as Gary Waterworth is 2 laps down as he's going to be fighting Philip York. Actually, no, York is getting lapped himself, so Waterworth's all on his own.
Getting a little racy here. Bronson Stafford up the outside. We're going to go 3 wide with the 97 of Philip York, as you mentioned. And getting dicey here, Connor, out of turn 4.
Had to be careful of that, but thankfully we do have even new tires somewhat, as Elwood and Poole ahead of the entire rest of the pack because they still navigate that 97, who's had a bit of a struggle tonight, as 2x2 behind the top 2. Not a lot of lap traffic up ahead. Carter Coop and Blaine Harrison, who are together right now, are next up, a little further up the road, as we do get 2 lanes now after being single file for a little while.
While the racing continues, we'll get some things out of the way because we have not had a lot of yellows to do such things. Race fans, be sure to visit simwrapmarket.com for custom iRacing paint scheme templates that are simple to use and help you stay more focused on the racetrack. simwrapmarket.com. JT Poole is back at it here on Elwood to the outside this time, and he's got Munsell giving him a shove.
A big shove here on the outside lane. Elwood kind of got left there. I don't think he expected anyone to try a second lane right now. I think he was expecting everyone to ride. Not the case. Poole's going to retake that lead. Ooh, someone blow up?
I heard that. I think it's on.
Is that on pit road?
Pit road, yeah.
I think it was...
Maybe Dawson Miller?
Yeah, I think it was maybe it was Logan Hartman. Yeah, I think it was Logan Hartman. Proceed. Wasn't in the pack. We would have seen it if it was in the pack.
Sounded like it, but... Bronson Stafford, we haven't talked a lot about the 61 today. 20th starting place. Runs 5th now, quietly climbing.
Yeah, pretty important quiet climb right now. He's kind of had his moments this season. He's not, I guess, in the worst spot in points, but he could definitely improve, that's for sure. He has ran majority of the races. He's now 36th in points, so it has not been much of a season to remember looking at that, but definitely having a strong run right now as Munsell and Swan almost banged doors there as a 61 having one of the runs of the season for him. So
next time by, 50 laps to go.
Look at this.
Yeah,
we haven't seen this tonight.
No, they're as you mentioned earlier, two truck tango. And this has not been an effective strategy in many years, but they are making it work.
I wonder if this is a case of those drivers in that second pack trying to save, but how early they pit to halfway, I don't think it's possible for them. So why not just go for it? I think another product of that is getting draft from Blaine Harrison and Carter Coop. But I haven't seen this in any of the 3 NASCAR series at Atlanta ever. How long does this last?
Well, maybe not long with Ryan Swan blinking the way that he is in this pack.
Honestly, I'm impressed. I've never seen that here. That is impressive. But the downgrade, what is the word I'm looking for? The downside to it, as the lap trucks in the wall, is that they're going to get swallowed up from that top two. As that's one way to get out of the way. Just slide the wall a little bit.
I suppose so. But there.
Oh, there they go. Stafford gets turned.
Oh boy, that's going to be a wreck. If it's not, I'd be amazed. It's not.
Yeah, I'm amazed.
That is amazing.
Oh, what in the world did they eat for dinner tonight?
It's going to mix up the pack, though, that's for sure.
Yeah, only the top four are going to get away with this. Poole, Elwood, Munsell, and Swan. That was a good time to go two-car tango, I suppose. How in the world? He used Dylan Lee to save his truck. That's unbelievable.
A.J. Roderick was shoving the 25 all the way through it, too, and somehow they keep it straight, and we continue.
Dylan Lee's truck, shout out the new damage model. It really doesn't look that bad. As yes, the flag man's looking at it, is like, oh, I didn't see anything. We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
The track's clear as the top four, really maybe the top seven get away. Tom Bourne, Shane Theory, and Brad Slaughter Jr. have some work to get back to the top four, but these seven looking pretty good right now. But Slaughter's all over Theory and trying to shove him up there.
Yeah, and with as the laps start to wind down and the field getting split up, I think we're going to see a lot more aggression, as the drivers are realizing now that they have to push. Now, there's still a pit stop to do, we're expecting, for the majority of this field. And with that, you know, how many times we dodged a yellow flag on a pit entry sequence. So Munsell trying to pop out of line, or excuse me, Mason Kane.
Yeah, now I don't expect this pack to not wreck again, as Aiden Roberson's blinking. That's not going to help, and Travis Beckner is not happy about it, which I can't blame him. It's going to be important for when these guys pit too, because it's only going to be a splash. It's not going to be tires most likely, so you really got to set yourself up with track position for this.
Oh, Dylan Lee out of line again, and this time the 49 of Danny Ware cut him a break.
Really got to be careful with Roberson blinking like that, as this is when things get dicey, and there it is.
This time, I don't think they're going to... How did they? Dylan Lee.
I quit.
Wow.
I sent in my resignation.
Dylan Lee has been impressing tonight. He got shoved in there like Kyle Busch at the 2012 Bud Shootout, snapped loose, and saved it again.
It's unbelievable. I've never seen that twice by the same person. That is nuts. It's unfortunate for him. He doesn't get away with this one as far as being in the pack. He is going to get some of the pack, but
well done. Well done. Well, it keeps the race momentum up, and if we go green from here, it's 22 minutes until the end of this race. It's almost showtime here, Connor. We get down to lap 85, lap 90. That's when it's going to start to kind of come together. And we could see pit stops. If drivers are going to come, they could come down any time. And is there any incentive to maybe split this run in half and maximize anything? Or are you just going to run the tank out and then hit pit lane when you need to?
I think you're going to tank out and hit pit lane. If you knew it was going to be a two-stop, you would have split it up evenly by pitting on lap 40. But
right.
Then again, you probably, that strategy, you probably take tires both times, or maybe take less fuel to combat that. I think it must have been where a ton of drivers were assuming an easy one-stop race, and then it didn't become that. So now it's thrown, kind of all hell's already broken loose. Everyone's like, oh wait, we need another stop, and now it's going to be a mad dash to who goes the longest on the fuel, and the mad dash to pit lane to see who can put the least amount of fuel in their trucks to make it to the end.
But probably just a splash and dash, right, Connor?
Yes.
I mean, it's going to only be a moment.
They're probably going to pit with maybe 10 to go if they stretch a tank out again, the people who have not been saving whatsoever. So, yeah, you're going to take probably a splash of fuel. Maybe 3 gallons is all you'll need. And you got to be careful on pit exits. That's another thing. If you're not going to take tires, got to watch those pit exits.
There is at least 4 different groups around the racetrack right now, 3 big packs and a couple other smaller ones that are circulating here. We're in the final third of the race now as we complete lap number 80. JT Poole leads the first pack. Jacob Bell Garrett Grant leads the second one. And then Stafford leads the second one, then Garrett Grant will lead the third. So they're a long, long ways back, though. And even with the pit stops, they're going to have to figure something out, and otherwise they'll be just settled amongst the top 10 or so.
Yeah, and the one thing, Garrett Grant was one of those who went 60 laps and leading a line. He's not going to be able to make it at all. Jacob Bell and Asogak, all three of those guys were the ones trying to make one stop maybe work, but I don't expect that to be a scenario because they might get lapped, and who knows where they'll come out with the leaders that do stop if they try to stretch it. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think they're too far back to really do anything, but that is still a pretty big line that they are leading. A lot of driver side issues on pit entry.
On board now with JT Poole leading this race. He's led 33 of the 81 that we've completed. And Tom Bourne, we haven't talked a lot about him this evening. Look at where he is now, up into third, maybe second place. Going for the lead now with help from Brad Slaughter Jr.
With the absence of Scioli, he could very easily take the point lead tonight if he has a decent finish. So it's a pretty big race for him. No wins himself, 3 top 5s on the season, 6 top 10s. Been really a quiet season, not just a quiet night. We really haven't talked about him too much, but it seems like whenever we go through the starting line, it's like, oh, Tom Bourne, he's the points leader, by the way. It was like, what? But he's had a really low-key, solid season right now, and it could become high-key if he could pull off a win here, as he's challenging for it right now.
It's a great point. He's just been mighty consistent, and as far as race wins go, he hasn't been in the picture. His worst finish was a 16th. That was at Michigan. He had a 12th at Watkins Glen. Everything else was 7th or better.
Ooh, I think we had another mini incident. We've had no shortage of those. Looks like Bobby Tinch might have gotten a tap from Braden Goddard. And once again, they did not bring out a caution as they're not too far ahead of the leaders.
Here's a look at it.
Oh, another blink issue.
Yeah, Tinch got on the brakes, and Goddard, it wasn't really Goddard's fault necessarily, just couldn't check up in time. Great save there by Tinch. He's about to go a lap down, though.
Yeah, save the truck, but it's going to be hard to save a lap here for him, which is unfortunate, as we'll see how the leaders navigate this. So Bourne's going to go up the track. I don't know if he got loose tight or just wanted to get out of it. I think the 8 kind of almost looked like the 8 got close to his left rear, and he was like, I'm not risking this. You can have it.
He just bailed out of it. Mason Kane joins the club here. David Weishart rejoins behind Brad Slaughter Jr., but it's Poole and Elwood. These two, and you could throw Justin Munsell in that group as well. They have been persistent up front, and they're about to run into some lap traffic, which is going to change the dynamic immensely.
It's going to change the dynamic. Look how, by the way, look how slow Just Anasogak's going right now. They're about to catch that pretty long line, too. Anasogak's leading it. I'm wondering if he's trying to back them far up to try to make it to 120 without another stop. But look at how slow the pace is for the 88 right now as Ryan Olsen, see him come back on track. He pits before the leaders. As it's going to be interesting. A lot more lap traffic to navigate this time.
Yeah, a handful of tenths slower. So a 31.03 for JT Poole. For Anasogak, it was actually it was quicker that time, a 30.6. No, I'm sorry, 32.6 to a 31.0. So a second and a half off, as you mentioned.
Wondering if maybe he's betting on maybe getting in with the lead pack and just coasting. The problem is he's been leading that line for so long without backing them up like this, as he really barely got in front of Goddard. I just don't know if he can save that much fuel in 30 laps.
Well, it's about to get really confusing as to who is where. The outside lane for now is your lead lap group. As we close in on 30 laps to go, 16 minutes. Running out of time to sort this one out. And what is the fuel scenario? Everyone's gone at least 26, 27 laps on fuel. This front group has gone 34.
This is pretty important for JT Poole and Elwood and Munsell to be doing this. If they could put any sort of track position between them and the rest of this lead pack that's with them, that's pretty huge when they come down to get a splash of fuel. So Poole, Elwood, Munsell, Slaughter, and then Weishart, and everyone else is playing catch-up behind Shane Theory.
Ooh, big bobble there by Slaughter Jr. in the middle of the corner with David Weishart behind him. And they get up along the outside of Munsell. Look at Brad Slaughter trying to get to the quarter panel, the side draft to touch. Not quite there into turn 1.
That was extremely close there, and this is where you're going to get some drivers who might get hung out behind these lap-down trucks, as Dustin Scruggs, that 22 truck, is still the leader of those lap trucks. Shane Theron's getting a big shove from Tom Bourne, trying to stay with what is the actual lead pack.
David Weishart real high in 3 and 4. Oh, it's getting spicy, getting scrappy.
Blaine Harrison spun out of 2. It's another half spin. Oh, I've never seen that before. He gets it back straight again. I've never seen this.
We've gotten lucky so many times. 30 laps to go. Will our luck run out? Will we get a caution and re-rack it? And if we get a yellow, all the strategy goes away and it just turns into a straight-up run to the finish.
Sure, and I'm sure if we do get that, we'll see more tire strategy. And even with how squirrely drivers have been getting, I would not be surprised to see people do a splash and go under yellow anyways. We'll just have to wait and see if we get to that point. One way or another, we're going to see splash and goes. It's a matter of whether it's maybe 5 trucks or the entire field.
For Blaine Harrison, just got up on the apron there, and it went around on him. Just scraped the inside wall, but otherwise, no harm, no foul. This one pack has kind of reconvened, although it's a mix of lead lap and lap down cars.
Yeah, now we got about the top 6, top 7, really top 8 are ahead of the lap down trucks, and Scruggs is still leading the bottom. Mason Kane, he doesn't have any help to get past them right now, as Garrett Grant, Jacob Beller not going with him. Michael Curran can't seem to get up there to help him.
Time ticking away at Atlanta, the Area Truck Series. It's road racing next week, lefts and rights from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. A completely different kind of racing next week. It was completely different last week where we were bumping and banging on the short track in Martinsville. But right now we're basically super speedway restrictor plate racing on Atlanta Motor Speedway. And it's been a wild evening. JT Poole noses ahead again of Brad Slaughter Jr. and Alan Elwood. We're closing in on 25 laps to go.
Getting closer and closer to getting to that point where everyone's like, okay, this is danger time as far as fuel goes. As probably a lot of guys, because we had a lot of our front runners hit around lap 55, lap 56. So really, they won't be able to go longer than maybe lap 112, lap 113. So see a lot of 3-gallon takers probably.
Through 1 and 2 rather, Brad Slaughter Jr. and David Weishart paired up in that outside lane. They've been stuck together like glue all night long.
Looks like we're going to have some pit stops here. Had a lot of drivers get to the bottom that time. See if we got pit stops earlier than we anticipate. Looks like it.
And here comes Elwood, and he's going to bring a handful with him. Can they all get slowed down? Lockups from a bunch of trucks.
Let's see if they all made it. No contact there, as I believe that was the entire leaders, I believe. So all 11 of those guys, I believe. No, not Brad Slaughter Jr.
Or JT Poole. Or David Weishart.
Or Michael Curhan.
Yep.
Okay, I was wrong. Okay, I get it. I was wrong.
I didn't mean for that to come across like it did, but...
Oh, I'm just joking around. It seems like Tom Bourne's out with a splash and go.
Here come the rest.
See if a one-lap undercut makes a difference. Look at Slaughter try to make up ground. That is not how you enter pit road, Bobby Tinch, but he makes it down anyways. I don't think he'll get away with that as he lets the leaders by.
Brad Slaughter Jr. made up a lot of ground, actually, on JT Poole. It's not going to matter when they hit the track again, but...
Yeah. Actually, JT Poole is an earlier stall, so that will make up maybe a little bit of difference. We'll have to see what happens here. We'll see how much fuel these guys take.
So now the longest running trucks on track have been on track for... Well, JT Poole returns to the racetrack, and his 42-lap stint is over, and it was just a 6.5-second stop, so just fuel for JT, 2 tires for Brad Slaughter, 4 for most of the rest.
Kind of surprised by the 4 tires because they're going to get out. You know, if you're going to pit like that, everyone as a leader, you kind of want to be on the same strategy so you're packed up and ready to go. It's not going to be the case. Literally, no one came out together there as... Now A.J. Roderick leads, but obviously I don't believe he's pit yet. We'll see where guys like Poole come out in regards to one another.
Closing in on 20 laps to go, and this race has kind of fallen out of rhythm in some sense. There's all these different strategies going on, and lap down trucks and lead lap trucks and different groups here and there, and singular trucks that are doing different things, and I've lost track of most of it, but it's all going to converge here in the last 20 laps in the last 10 minutes or so.
Beckner is passing trucks for position right now, but everyone he's passing has not pit. He is, I believe, the first driver who has pit to make it on fuel to the end. And he's got a pretty big gap over JT Poole, who's also on his own, but once again, it looks like Anna Sogak, these guys might be trying to make it, so JT Poole can just catch him easily.
Yeah, Travis Beckner you're right. He is the first driver that is good to the end on fuel. He's pit 3 laps to go.
Man. Look at how he's trying to dodge through these guys.
Everyone else ahead of him has to hit pit road, but when? Not this time. Look at JT.
Oh, look at JT. He's got to go. He has to keep pace with the 28, so he has no choice. These two are way further ahead than everyone else. Next driver on the strategy is the entire pack. Elwood, Slaughter, Munsell, all those guys are together. Well, these two got away.
Now, can they just settle amongst themselves? Are they going to be able to stay out there by themselves? JT, slice it and dice it. He's going to go 3 wide.
Oh, yeah,
yes, he will.
But he's going to have really nowhere to go. Does he just get in line if I were him, because the pack of the other 6 guys he's going to have to combat with. You don't really want to have to deal with them, so push Beckner as hard as you can.
Eric Wineland is following all of this, still has to hit pit road,
And
but he's got the best view.
We heard Jordan Martin, who's kind of a guy in our ear. He's been clutching, apparently. I'm not sure if he's going to have the opportunity to do that now, but he has been clutching. He pit on lap 60 himself. So he's another driver who's trying to make this work one stop, but even then, he's still been passed by Beckner and Poole.
JT off the apron there as Wineland closes back in, but if they can just settle amongst themselves, they I'm sure would be happy. Brad Slaughter Jr. is in the middle of this pack, though, as well. So once the lap down trucks pull out, oh, the 66 is in the wall pretty hard in 1 and 2. Blaine Harrison.
He's had a rough night, that's for sure. Didn't look... I think he tried to get out of the way of Slaughter, and they kind of crossed paths, I suppose, but never mind that. They've caught this pack that's saving right now, but meanwhile, we still have this pack that hasn't hit. Roderick, Ware, Roberson, these 3 are the lead lap drivers in this field who are maybe trying to make it themselves.
And they're going to miss pit lane again. 17 laps to go. There's 6 trucks that have yet to come down pit lane. Out in front of Beckner, and then it's a further few. Wineland, Bell, and a handful of others, including Anna Sogak. Look at this stack up. Could they create a yellow flag and totally throw a caution to the wind?
Oh, dumped Beckner. Beckner's going to be left out to dry here as Wineland's getting the shove from Brad Slaughter Jr. to the front.
Well, Brad Slaughter Jr. enters the party, and so does David Weishart. So no longer able to settle amongst themselves. It's game on, but they have a whole bunch of chess pieces of no value to them in about 3 laps.
I'm surprised Poole didn't block that, but he doesn't have tires. Brad Slaughter Jr., Weishart, and those guys who are further behind do. It's paying dividends right now.
Nose to tail with 15 laps to go.
AJ Roderick hit lap 54. There's no way he can make it. There's no way you're going to save that much fuel. So I assume these guys really just hoping for a yellow so that maybe they can get track position, but I don't think that'll even get the track position at this point. With everyone who was at the front pretty much good on fuel, race on now.
Still battling nose to tail. The 8 and the 29 working together. They have surpassed both the 28 and the 26. And Beckner has fallen down behind Eric Wineland, who again, as I mentioned, is a kind of a chess piece that will have no value to him once he's gone. And they will be gone at some point.
Drastic happens, but still not fully believing in it. Well, that's potential to get wild, but guarantee for now, Weishart's going to be glued to that rear bumper of Slaughter, but also got to protect because I don't know, it's looking to the middle. I don't think he's really wanting to do it yet, but he is definitely hurting his op.
Secondary group with, or I guess the leading group with Roderick Ware and Roberson still have yet to make their move. Look at this mess into turn 3.
Bobby Tinch is going to get in the wall. That was easy to see. He's out of the way, though, and they get around him. So that will be all good, unfortunately for Tinch, but it's all good for the lead runners.
So little time left and so much to sort out. The top 6 drivers have 53 laps or 50 laps on their tank of fuel. They can't make it to the end from here. There's a handful of others that are in this main group with the drivers that can make it. And how are they going to sort themselves out unless they're confident they can run their tank out to the end? Eric Wineland's much better on fuel than the front six are, so he probably could figure out how to lift and coast and save, but he must have done that already, otherwise he would have already made his move.
Yeah, I think at this point, if he's still tight on fuel, best thing he can do is just follow these guys and hope for a good finish, because guaranteed 6 positions if he could just make that work. So, got to be smart, but at the same time, definitely not saving because he's having to shove JT Poole while also getting shoved by Travis Beck. They're 2 guys who can't afford to just sit right here. They're in the battle for the win.
10 laps to go, 15 miles left.
Excuse me. Sorry, we had a wreck down the back playing Harrison off that board. I'm also going to mention the top group is hitting Roderick, Ware, and Roberson.
Into turn 3, coming to 10 laps to go this time by. The 26 and the 8 are side by side, and they are battling for a race win here at Atlanta. Across the stripe, Ricky Harden leads, as it looks like a few have come to pit lane, Roderick and Danny Ware, and those are just some of the dominoes to start to fall.
Harden pit lap 57. It still seems a bit long to do it, but once again, still waiting for that yellow just in case he might be able to save under yellow enough to make yet to stay out. But one thing I'm surprised about, 26 and 28, they're still strong on the bottom. Definitely struggling, but they're able to keep pace with Brad Slaughter.
Don't even know where to look. I don't know what's going to happen next. Justin Munsell pops out of line to the high side just briefly. Blood pressure is rising. The pressure is building. They're shaking the bottle and getting ready to tear that cap off.
Cap is about to explode. It's poking Mentos right now, and it's just a matter of time until it goes all over the ceiling and completely destroys this racetrack the way it's going right now. And I assume someone's going to try that 3-wide move. We haven't seen it all race long, really, but coming to the end of this, it's got to happen as these 2 lines are getting closer and closer.
Still side by side, door to door. Wineland can only assume he can make it with 52 laps on his tank of fuel. If he has saved a little bit, he's good to go. So he's going to be a part of this conversation at the end. The front driver, the only one left to bite, is Bryce Senesac. He hits pit lane. He's the last domino to fall. 7 laps to go. This is your battle for the lead. Game on.
We got one driver trying to go 3 wide. I think Ryan Swan trying to put Curhan in the middle. He's got him in the middle, but he doesn't have enough help to really do anything with it.
Side by each, down the back straightaway. Wineland loose, gives JT Poole a big old shove down the back straightaway.
This is where we might see the crash just due to shoving. You're not going to lift off the guy through the corner, entering the corner, exiting the corner. You have to shove hard to stay on it track position-wise, so it's all or nothing now.
Still pushing, still shoving, and the laps are winding down. Eric Wineland is in position. He was second last week at Martinsville. He runs 3rd right now. Coming to 5 to go this time. Dead heat down the backstretch. Big run from the outside lane.
Big shove here as looks like Senesac's just going to get out of the way. As thought I heard someone cutting out there, but all good. Poole with no tire. He doesn't have the tire advantage. He doesn't have the lane advantage, let alone the pushing partner advantage. So it's really hard for him to keep up right now as you can see that bottom line losing ground. Just wondering if Weishart goes to the bottom. He did, but he's trying. Oh, Roberson, look out. That was wildly close, but they made it work. I thought.
Oh, behind him. Crash. They somehow stay straight for now. No, the 88 of Enesogak gets turned, slide and spin, and he will end up on the racetrack. And there is the caution flag. And there, finally, after 116 laps, we'll get a yellow.
What is that Kyle Busch saying? It don't matter what happens. It's going to come down to a green, white checkered after all that. And it came down to lap traffic coming into play here.
Yeah, and again, I think it was Enesogak that kind of got the short end there. You see, is that?
And Tom Bourne.
Tom Bourne, yeah. He was the one that got into the wall originally, and then the 88 is the final domino to fall in that result here.
Auto drivers did a good job getting through it.
Oh.
Looked like Roberson came down the track and Tom Bourne was there.
Yeah, another look at it here from high above. Roberson, he just kind of panicked, turned off the wall, and turned around the 16, and that's frustrating for Bourne for sure. And he had no control, obviously. His truck already destroyed.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do there. We've seen when lap trucks get in the wall, they kind of stay up there, which I think is a smart thing to do. Robertson, he saw the wall coming up and thought, oh, I got to get off it. You don't really have room to do that when the leaders are going by. And Tom Horn, like you said, suspension broke. Probably trying to get off track as well. And Sogak, nowhere he can go to avoid.
So caution out. We are going to have a green-white checker. This will extend our race distance. And the 16 got turned on pit lane by Shane Therian. More trouble for the 16 from bad to worse. And that, I mean, it's already broken, so.
I think Therian was turning into a stall and Horn got turned. It's looking like he could come out of this the points leader. Depending on where he finishes, maybe he still does, but it went from good to kind of bad.
So first taker is going to be Eric Wineland in 13th place. Then Jacob Bell, Irvin, Scruggs, Grant, and Therian, the rest of that group. Tom Bourne, obviously, also. So the top 9 all pit 22 laps ago. Then Roderick in 10th and Ware in 11th pit 7 laps ago. So they've got slightly fresher tires and, well, just only 2 of them. Ricky Harden was a fuel only 5 laps ago, and then everyone else just pit now. I don't know how much that'll matter, Connor. It's going to be 2 laps, and I am in favor of Brad Slaughter Jr. if I had to pick a driver right now, because every time it comes down to a green-white checkered, I want to be in front because the chance that it goes yellow again is very, very high.
Yeah, and I don't think new tires would make a difference at this point. 2 laps, they'll make a difference. The problem is it's not going to make a difference on the restart in 1 and 2. It'll make a difference in 3 and 4, but A, how far back are you going to come from? B, are you even going to have room to come from the back? We're going to see 3 wide immediately. We're going to see drivers try to make that line work immediately, and the new tires might get held up. I don't think it's going to really matter. Like you said, I think Slaughter's in a good spot here. Plus, unlike the initial start, he's going to be able to get a jump on Weishart if he wants, but I don't think that'll be the way he wants to go.
JT Poole typing away, maybe trying to formulate a relationship with somebody in desperate times, calls for desperate measures sort of way.
There's not much he can do. He's got to hope someone stays on his rear bumper. He is one of those drivers on old tires. He has no tires. Becker didn't have any either, so he's got to really kind of hold on for dear life because he's going to have no grip entering turn 3 next time by, really.
Alan Elwood, absolutely clinical behind the wheel. No emotion. He is just getting set to go racing. He will be behind Brad Slaughter Jr. The 2 drivers that have worked together all night long, Brad Slaughter Jr. and David Weishart, they are lined up side by side. We are 1 lap into overtime, and this is our only attempt at this. If the caution comes out, the race is over.
Slaughter took the top here to keep Weishart behind him as well.
Here we go. 2 laps left, 3 miles of the Area Truck Series race in Atlanta. Green flag back in the air, 2 to go.
Good jump. Poole got great timing on that. He's going to be shoving Weishart to the lead briefly.
Now it's tense. Everybody accelerating up through the gears. JT Poole and Alan Elwood second in line. Their respective lines, there's a spin out of 2.
Braden Goddard
will stay green. Can we stay green all the way into turn 3 and 4, Connor?
I'd be surprised. Wineland's up the middle. He has fresher tires. They're straight right now. We might just make it, Kyle.
White flag. We will finish this race under green.
Look at
now
Wineland.
It's chaos up front.
We got Wineland on fresh tires. If he just had someone pushing him, it would be a different story, but he doesn't have the help.
David Weishart leads the way, but for how long? Down the back straightaway, they're crashing behind him.
3 wide, though, for the lead. Poole pulled out. They're 3 wide for the lead.
Into turn 3 and 4. They're 3 wide. They're crashing again. Wineland goes around. Weishart leads. Man. Huge crash in the background. As out of turn 4, David Weishart wins. But by just the small... No, Slaughter. Weishart. Wow.
It was Weishart.
That was... What happened there? How did Slaughter end up on top of my scoring for a moment?
Not sure, but that was insanely wild. Weishart goes back-to-back in the Truck Series, I believe. Wild, wild finish. And a lot of that was due to JT Poole trying to make something happen.
What just happened? I got to figure out my timing did what it did, but let's go back and have a look at this as they came through 3 and 4. There's the crash in the background. I didn't even know where Slaughter was. He was unaccounted for. That's why at the stripe, Weishart got it. For second, it was very close.
Yeah, very, very close. I think Poole got it by maybe 100th of a second as the crashing started very early in turn 3, but look at his finish. Munsell just didn't have enough time to get to the bottom.
So it was JT Poole by 100th of a second. And then here's what it looked like in 3 and 4.
4 wide at Atlanta, that'll do it.
Yep, and the 49 of Danny Ware on the bottom, the 31 of Mason Kane. There's the contact. And I think Jacob Bell was right in the middle of all this as that wadded up.
You got a sandwich here from the 31.
Oh, man. Up and over onto his side. And same with Philip York and the 21 of Wineland all going for. Look at the 77 truck up skateboarding, and Philip York got drilled as well.
Gosh, it's a shame for Wineland. He had such a run out of turn number 4 coming to the white, but he just didn't have anyone following him to get there. And does the 77 get to the line? I don't think he did. Oh, no, he can still drive it. He did get there.
And here is what that ride looked like.
Just want to be with the fans. That is a wild one.
And from Philip York's view.
Literally the definition of violent.
So, all that said and done, let's have a look at our race results. It was a crazy one. David Weishart wins by 56 thousandths over JT Poole. 121 laps, 1 yellow breaking up the action, Connor. But that one was one to remember.
Yeah, definitely one to remember. And one of those super speed races where we really didn't have that many finishers in the top 10, top 5 that were that wild. Really, everyone up here ran up there. Munsell, Beckner, Curhan, then Slaughter at 6th. Elwood may be a little disappointed for him to be 8th. He might have led the most laps. Arden, and really the only surprise up there was Garrett Grant. He was one of those guys trying to save a lot of fuel. He got up to 10th in the end of all that.
Yep, and down the rest of the order, Dustin Scruggs. Ryan Swan ended up 13th and all that. Mason Kane involved in that last corner collision. 15th place, Eric Wineland was coming, but wasn't able to finish where I'm sure he wanted to finish. And down the rest of the order, Shane Therian, Aiden Roberson in that late race crash, Braden Goddard and Blaine Harrison, all nights to forget for them. But let's talk with our top 3. First up is Justin Munsell, who was up front battling all night long with the race leaders, but Justin comes home in 3rd place. Justin, wild evening. We had 1 yellow flag late in the going. It set up a frantic late race restart, and then it was just trying to find room to race on those final 2 laps. Take us through your perspective in that run to the checkered flag.
Yeah, pretty much my my strategy was just stay on the bottom, stay as low as I can, and whoever's in front of me, I'm just going to hit. And luckily, everything kind of washed out on the outside, and nothing came back down to the inside for me. And I just kept my nose down, and wherever I ended up was where I was going to end up. I didn't notice there was a wreck on my outside in turn 3, which took out a few guys, obviously. I wasn't expecting to get a second or a third. I was pretty much probably slated for like 5th or 6th. So 3rd place is pretty awesome. I'll take it. I wasn't too stoked about this race to begin the day. Not too fond of Atlanta Super Speedway, but we'll take a 3rd place. We much needed for the points for sure.
Well, great points tonight for the number 6, 18th up to 3rd place at the end, outlasting a bunch of other drivers in the number 6 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. Justin, thanks so much for chatting, and congrats. He made it to the end of a super speedway race. That's an accomplishment within itself.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Moving on now to David Weishart, JT Poole, who came home in 2nd place. JT, gave it all you had. It was wild. You led a whole bunch of laps tonight. You were in contention at the end, and just like last night, missed it by that much.
Yeah. I don't know what else I could have done. I guess taking tires on a green flag stop. I was at I think I was on a 60 lap tire or like 50 lap tire disadvantage. So, I saw Weishart not clear in front of Brad coming off at 2. I had to do something. I went middle, and there was a lane. We net code. I mean, we probably were going to touch anyway, but we net coded, and I needed help to get to me sooner. Travis got tight behind me and washed up and couldn't get to my bumper. So again, another top 3 finish that we haven't won yet. So we gotta close out one of these races.
Well, it was so close. But so far, JT. Giving it all you got, you're in contention. Of course, like I mentioned last night, we go road racing at Road America for the Cup Series on Monday. Moseport next week. That's a real interesting track for the trucks. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I'm a little more confident for Canadian Tire than I am for Road America. I don't even own Road America yet, so we'll see how that goes Monday. I probably won't turn a lap until the session, so... well, I mean, I'm not playoff eligible anymore. I missed too many races, so I'm just out here to go for wins. So, we'll see how Canadian Tire goes.
I'm going to recommend you get that track before you turn a lap there. A lot of heavy braking zones, JT. It's going to be an important one. Best of luck to you next week. We'll see you there.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to David Weishart, and on the outside looking in before the night in terms of the playoff picture, and in the late stages of this one, you put yourself in contention, pushing the 8 all night long, but when push comes to shove, you are out front at the very end, David. You lock yourself in to the playoffs with that win, and that's got to feel good, but we panned over to you watching. You were stone cold coming across the start-finish line, just executing clinically. Take us through your night and getting yourself set up for the playoffs.
Yeah, the race started off as a fuel mileage race, and I thought I was saving enough gas there in like third on the outside, but we were still a couple laps short, so we pitted a couple laps after Alan because we knew he was pretty fast, and we had an incident on pit road. There was I think the 12 spun coming onto pit road, and then I don't know who it was, turned right in front of Brad, gave him a bunch of damage on pit road. Lost a bunch of track position, got up there, and yeah, it was all about maintaining track position this race. We were a little nervous on fuel there at the end because for some reason iRacing decided to put an auto fuel feature in here that we forgot about, and we're nervous that we weren't going to have enough, but luckily we did. We came home first tonight.
Well, we go road racing next week at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. That's a real interesting track for the trucks. You got to win now, so you don't have to worry about it, but does that change the goal next week to go out there and win?
Oh, no. The goal every week is to come out and win and lead the most laps and do all that good stuff. But we've already put in a good amount of laps at that track. We decided to take this weekend and focus on that just because, Atlanta's its own beast. It's wide open, and you're kind of at the mercy of other people sometimes here. So looking forward to that. Obviously, we, as team-wise, we had another good team points tonight, and James wasn't here tonight, but, everybody knows how good he is on road courses. So looking forward to the team points we're going to probably get next week, and just looking forward to that track. It's a real challenging track. Not a lot of rear grip out there and a lot of fun sections. So looking forward to getting after it.
Appreciate it, David. Congratulations on your win. Locked yourself into the playoffs. We'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, guys. 2 in a row at Atlanta. I can't believe it.
Oh, boy. We'll see you next time.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Connor, wrapping things up here from Atlanta. This track, as much as we said at the top of the show that we don't love it as far as the real-world racing goes, but it has not disappointed yet, at least to me, here in iRacing.
No, definitely hasn't. Once again, real life's a different story from iRacing sometimes, and racing here definitely a little different from what we see in real life. But I think that in some cases maybe it makes it worse, but this is a case where sim racing makes it a little bit better. It races really well, tight pack racing like a normal super speedway would be, and it obviously adds the factor of tire saving at this track. We saw a drop off be about 7/10, which really made racing interesting, where you had to get track position, but also you had to keep the tires on it and also bring in fuel strategy into it, and it makes it completely wild. And at the end of the day, it was all that for another David Weishart win. 2 in a row at Atlanta Super Speedway, 4th in his truck career. So pretty wild that he comes away with 2 in a row at a track this unpredictable.
Yeah, great win for David Weishart. Before we go, though, fans, be sure to check out rickshotsauce.com for some of the best hot sauces made locally in South Florida. Try the Loxahatchee Classic, Golden Garlic, Palm Beach Pineapple, or South Beach Heat. Follow the Rick's Hot Sauce Rookie of the Year battle in the Area Cup Series and see which driver will take home the $100 prize as the highest finishing rookie in the point standings. And be sure to check out shop.areairacing.com for merchandise to represent your favorite drivers and teams. Shop from our brand new selections of champion t-shirts, jackets, hats, and more. Easier to shop, quicker to ship, better to wear. That's shop.areairacing.com. Next week, north of the border, in complete contrast to our American South battle here in Atlanta, we're headed to Bowmanville, Ontario, in Canadian Tire Motorsports Park to go road racing one last time this season before we get set up for IRP, Talladega, Chicagoland, Phoenix, Gateway, and Homestead to wrap up the Area Truck Series season. But just 3 more races left in the regular season before we get to determine the drivers running for a championship. Thanks so much for watching. Kyle Heyer alongside Connor Horn. We'll see you on Thursday for Atlanta for the Area Florida State Builders Pro Series. We'll see you there.